Our next presenter is Elizabeth Zay with the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, and she is going to be speaking about another NADPRP project. This has been a huge project, National ICS Capacity Advancement Project. So why don't you go ahead, Elizabeth? We're curious to hear about all the work you did.
Yeah, and doing. It's still ongoing. We've got more to do. So thank you so much, Dr. Ia, for inviting me to speak to you all. And I just want to say how wonderful it is to see so many friends and partners on the call that have worked together with us before. And I'm excited to share more about this project on behalf of the Multi-State Partnership for Security in Agriculture. And I just also want to say how awesome it was to hear JJ's presentation, and there are a lot of common links and threads that are we'll talk about today with this project and some of the things that I see as opportunities for the future. So, again, thank you. My name is Elizabeth Zay. I'm the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator for the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, a member of the Multi-State Partnership for Security in Agriculture. And the project I'm going to talk about today is a brainchild of the MSP. We started talking about this at our 2018. Oh, no, this was post COVID. Sorry. This is our meeting in Nebraska, whatever year that was. If somebody in the chat could help me out. But we started talking about this at one of our annual meetings with the Multi State Partnership, recognizing that one of the biggest impediments to getting people trained and familiar, comfortable with incident command system was access to the trainings, and then the ability to travel to them, and making sure that the trainings are geared to us as animal agriculture emergency responders, recognizing that we're pretty different than first responders and in traditional settings like law enforcement and fire. You know, our responses are prolonged. Our operational periods are longer. We are very special. Our incidents, if we're talking about highly pathogenic avian influenza, if we're looking at getting those on the FEMA type scale, they're pretty much always a type 1 incident, at least in our state. And in Michigan, which is not a hurricane state, we have the one of the only multi-operational period emergencies that have happened in the last year. So we're a very interesting group of people and need training that's devoted to us. So this project has sought to improve the capacity for ICS in the U.S. So bit about this project. We applied back in 2022, got it awarded in 2023, and we recently got a no-cost extension to continue providing training through 2026. We set out to deliver position-specific and advanced IMT ICS training to animal health emergency responders in the partnership, and have reached a lot more states than just the partner states. So that's a boon to us. And we wanted to be able to provide the travel funding for people to get there, get people under one roof for a week to train and exercise together, and get all these other outcomes that I listed here. And I won't belabor the points too much on each of these outcomes, but we're meeting them, and there have been some pretty great stories to come out of the trainings that we've offered. So far, we've Michigan. Well, I'll back up. The role of Michigan in this project. So we applied for the grant because we had the staff time available to devote to managing a big grant like this, that we could serve as the coordinator, bringing together states that are hosting the trainings for us, and act as the fiduciary for getting subgrants out to those states that are hosting the trainings, and to getting the travel assistance funding to the individuals who need it to get to the trainings. So the idea is that we're hosting trainings across the country, typically in the Midwest, in locations that are central, easy to get to, and bringing together animal health emergency responders from all sorts of different state departments of ag. We've had USDA responders, we've had local responders, And we wanted to make these accessible. And I have the numbers to show that we have done that, and we're continuing to do that. So the first phase of our project, the initial performance period, was July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025. And we delivered training based on some surveys and discussions that we had. These were the position-specific trainings that we thought we needed initially. So we brought together in Nebraska in March 2024, six position-specific classes and a class for senior officials. And special thanks to our partners in Nebraska, Michael Gibson, and so many folks at the Nebraska Department of Agriculture who did a lot of work putting this one on. That was our initial kickoff to this. In November 2024, we hosted a second position-specific training summit in Ohio, in the Columbus area. Very special thanks to Jackie Keller-Potvin at the Ohio Department of Agriculture and many other staff members there who made this possible, putting on 6 position-specific classes there. And then in Michigan, we hosted a Type 3 All Hazards 0305 Incident Management Team course. We had 31 students from state and local agencies across the country. I should have said in the beginning, for these trainings, we've intentionally included foot and mouth disease scenarios, or actually animal disease scenarios, to, again, make this specific to animal disease responders. Here in Michigan, we utilize a trainer that we've contracted with for a handful of years, since I started with the department 8 or 9 years ago, who really gets why we're different. And we got really great feedback on this training in particular, based on the foot and mouth disease scenario we used, that it was timely, it was realistic, it was fast paced, and it was complex enough to make the students feel the stress and also get some more familiarity with what an animal disease response looks like and why that's different than your typical all hazards response to, a building structure collapse or a fire or something like that. And throughout these first 3 sessions, we have a lot of areas for improvement that we're working on, some scenario building stuff that we want to take into the next phase of the project, how to make this fit, a very complex disease response being type 1, if you're familiar with ICS and emergency response, into a type 3 training. This is typically a little less complicated, a little less intense. So how to make that work. And we have plans for executing or putting together a scenario development workshop. So if anybody's interested in participating in something like that, you can contact me after today. We'd love to have your input. So this is our reach from the first phase of the project. I'm very proud of just being able to get this many states to the trainings. Just being able to offer the training the coordination and getting the travel done for people is a challenge. And we're putting together a toolkit on how Michigan did this. Essentially, we have to have people pay out of pocket and reimburse them as individuals. It is very tricky getting all of the different policies of the organizations that people work for, kind of massaged, getting them that travel assistance that they need. But we work with them as individuals and as states and as the organizations to figure out ways to get them the funding. So that's kind of one of the wrinkles and challenges here. But it is pretty awesome to see this kind of coverage and see that we got this many people from around the country in these trainings. So a little bit more about just the demographics that we had. So we had 185 different enrollments in all of these trainings, 178 unique individuals attended one or more of these. So we had some people attend 2, and I had one person who attended all 3. 24 states. Federal agencies were a challenge this year, especially with some of the changes at the federal level, but we had attendees from USDA, mostly APHIS, U.S. Air Force, ATF and Coast Guard, National Park Board, and 2 universities. And I'll say, while we primarily target our animal disease response partners, if and when we have seats available, we do open them up to any other partner who would like to attend. If they are in Michigan, we recognize that we may utilize local response partners, and we work with them very regularly on other IMT trainings. And they've asked to come and work with us during an animal disease response. So there have been some cases where we're able to support travel. In some cases, we're not, though, because there's these people. There might be attendees that are not necessarily an animal disease responder or would ever work on one. So just a bit more about that. So this is just the breakdown of who we've got. So the lion's share of the attendees from this are again from the state departments of ag, Board of Animal Health. We've had some state emergency management folks, some local, some federal, pretty good share federal. I'd like to get more of our industry partners involved. We did have one excellent participant from the pork board, as I said before, but we'd like to involve more people there. In Michigan, I did have our secure food supply representative from the Michigan Pork organization come and be an actor in our exercise. So that was pretty cool. And then again, more academia. So what's next for us? We are looking towards a final year of this. Our performance period will end on June 30th. So what we are planning on doing, we are very close to executing a grant with a sub-grant with Iowa State Center for Food Protection or Food Security and Public Health, developing some additional just-in-time materials that will be housed on their website for agriculture, emergency responders, and the planning P. And that's recognizing that in all of our agencies, there will be people that have to respond to an emergency that just would not have had the time to get to ICS training yet. So that's just one of those things that we live with and want to be able to have the just-in-time training available that's appropriate for them. More on scenario development. We're looking at putting together a development workshop to increase our library, our catalog of ICS training scenarios that are involving animal health. Having very good feedback on the foot and mouth disease scenario we did for our 0305 training. We want to have more of those that are just ready to go and that trainers across the country can utilize. So I'm looking within the partnership within people on this call, if that's something that you're interested in attending. We don't have dates set yet. But looking to host a small workshop of people from across the country we can take a few days and get some training scenarios on paper and finalized. And then working with Arizona and Colorado on 2 additional training opportunities. And I'll say as well, we have a surplus of travel funds for this. So we initially estimated our travel with some higher end estimates, and that's some lessons learned on my end for writing the grant. But if it looks like we're going to have a surplus of funds, we're also seeking additional partners who would like to host a training. So if you are interested in hosting something in your state, ICS 300, ICS 400, any other position specific, it doesn't have to be a whole 6-class extravaganza. We can tailor it to what you're able to offer to just provide additional opportunities for people in the area. And what this looks like when we partner with a state, we subgrant the funds to host it. So the venue, something with lodging in the area near restaurants and entertainment, because unfortunately our travel assistance doesn't cover group meals. So we have to have ability to go out and get lunch during these trainings. Arranging and contracting with the training vendor to deliver the training and the state training officer in that state. And that's something I would work with you on. Very experienced in kind of knowing how to who to ask what and how to organize that in your state. And be the primary contact for the training that you're offering. And Michigan, as the overall organizer of this project, we We coordinate and we assist with registration for this event. We coordinate and administer the travel assistance for eligible travelers and partner with you and advise throughout the whole project. I'll also say if anybody's interested in seeing this, if you want to come to one of these events to learn more about the coordination of it, that's something, reach out to me. We'd love to have you and we can talk through how this could be applied in other ways. And how you could potentially utilize NADPRP funding for other things that we need to get done in our sector. And that's the next slide is we're developing a toolkit as we go. And I have a lot of the materials that can be replicated for, travel policies, how to put on these trainings, what you need to consider, the kinds of venues that you need. And we think there's a lot of applicability and utility here for other applications. So the model of bringing people together and funding the travel, especially as budgets are getting hit across the board, we could apply this to other things like an industry workshop where we need to get together with our industry partners. We were talking about just other planning and workshops that need to happen. Getting people to the places they need to go is one of the limiting factors in a lot of cases. In my discussions with the NADPRP program, this is a project that they're excited about. They recognize that the gap for emergency preparedness and training is there, and we saw from JJ's presentation that was one of the key findings from the survey, that we can continue to offer things like this for the states to lead future capacity building. So this was a big project. It doesn't have to be this big. If NISASA, if SADRA, if the Western states, other parts of the country wanted to apply this model on a smaller scale to deliver training to your region, that's doable, and the playbook's there. So they did ask me, and as I'm talking about this, to, plug that fiscal year 2026 NADPRP applications are coming. And so if you are interested in applying for something along these lines, I'm happy to share my materials. Like I said, I'm working on the toolkit. It's not done yet, but if you've got, questions in the interim, I'm happy to talk and happy to share what we've done. I don't think that I've missed anything. If I'm happy to answer any questions right now, and thank everybody for their support. If you've sent people, or if you've gone to one of these trainings, I just want to say how much we appreciate that. It has been awesome to see the results. One of the great takeaways that we had after the initial training in March, we had our incident commander and some of the USDA color teams that had trained together in Nebraska in March, right before our outbreak in spring 2024. And those relationships that were made there at the training, they really helped us just be able to hit the ground running and coordinate with trust already established. So not only are we just getting the classroom training, and we're getting the hands-on experience using the planning P, the relationships that we make across borders are invaluable. So we're just really, really proud of this project. Thanks.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We can take maybe one or two quick questions for Elizabeth. Otherwise, go ahead and put questions in the chat. And Elizabeth, if you could take a look and address those there. Also, could you please put your contact information in there so people can get in touch with you if they're interested in a program like this? What a good example of the collaboration and cooperation that JJ talked about. So thank you, Michigan, for doing all this.
Thank you.